right. Welcome to the Shaolin AI podcast. And today we're joined by a very special guest. Who are you?
My name is Marko. I'm
Yeah,
a
Mark. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm a Shaolin AI graduate, current assistant instructor here, and part-time data scientist with the crew.
Yeah. Marco is kind of our first official employee. And he is helping us build stuff and helping out with the students. And yeah, like you said, a graduate of the course. We'll talk about that in a later one, but today there's just so much AI news that we kind of have been putting this off too long because we just started our newest cohort. Speaking of which, if you want to join, it's probably too late. Unless you already know Python, then we can get you in for the machine learning stuff. But because of that, we've been a little busy, but the past few weeks have just been full of AI happenings. It's in the discourse. It's all over the place. Have you felt like that, or is it just because I run an AI thing?
No, I mean I think it's definitely in the last year it's kind of exploded here. It's in all the news. Everybody, even people who have no idea what they're talking about, are talking about it. Sort of like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the guys. I run a construction business, and a lot of the like old boomer construction guys are like talking about AI and AI stocks, and the one guy's like buying a lot of Nvidia stock and stuff like that. So it's definitely everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. And I initially the topic, well, maybe I should say the topic for today's is kind of AI image generation and AI art in general. And our last podcast, we talked about how that stuff plays into AI propaganda and how like uh, it's changing the face of the world. But then like we actually had a bunch of news stories where like it's true and like things were happening big. So the initial impetus for this was on the lead up to the Super Bowl. A bunch of stories were going around that someone on Twitter or X was sharing AI generated Taylor Swift uh nudes or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it was it videos or was it pictures? I didn't actually see.
I think it was maybe a little bit of both. From what,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because like they've had the capability of like deep fakes. People know about that for a while, but basically now you can almost just go to one of these AI image generators like Dall-E or Midjourney and just type in, Taylor Swift with Muppet, doing something. That was one of the ones I heard that was going
yeah.
around like Oscar the Grouch was involved somehow. Um, but yeah, apparently it like all the Swifties were like up in arms and like they were like, we need to be able to ban this. And it brings up a lot of like ethical questions because like technically it's not her, it's just a drawing. And technically
Right.
people have been like drawing weird stuff on the internet for years now. And like already like with the advent of Photoshop, people were like
People are
cutting
already
out
making
people's
memes and
faces and
stuff.
putting them
Yeah,
on other
sure.
things. Um, and is that illegal or is it not? And what makes AI worse? Is it just that it's like more accessible, or is it that it's better? I don't even know if it's
Yeah,
better,
I mean,
but
probably that it just looks more realistic,
I
less.
almost think that that's not even the issue because I feel like if you were good at Photoshop 10, 15 years ago, you could make a realistic looking picture, right?
Oh, well, I meant more with like video and stuff like that.
Video, yeah.
Yeah.
Video is better. But also it's more accessible, right? You just have
Right.
to be able to type something in and you can get it. Um, so let me see if I had any tweets on that. I don't think I do, but but then followed up on that was another account on Twitter, and this one I'll show. Uh okay. And I tried to pick the ones that are like, I don't know, podcast friendly. I don't know if we
Yeah.
have any standards, but we're trying to keep it rated like PG here or
Sure. This
something.
is a family show.
This is a family show. Tell your
Yeah.
family to tune in. Um, so so here's this app came out called Dignify, so Dignif AI, and they started going around finding images of like OnlyFans girls on Twitter, and they started putting clothes on them. So I don't know if you had seen the opposite, but there were like when all these image models came out, they trained models on like women wearing clothing and then not wearing clothing, and they were able to disrobe women with this
Sure.
AI. But this guy went the other direction and said, "We're going to put clothes on them." And so, like, you can look at this thing, and I'll show a couple other examples. Here's another one. Uh, where you've got the OnlyFans girl, then you've got her in like trad dress, I guess,
Yeah,
on
the
the other
trad girl
side.
meme.
But it's not just women. They did it with the what are these guys called?
The I don't know their names,
The
but
Island
they're
Boys.
yeah, that's it.
So they made the island, like, what would the Island Boys look like if they were, modest? And then you got Takeshi. Is it Takeshi
Yeah,
69?
Takeshi 69. He looks
Uh,
like the CEO of Nintendo, the old CEO.
yeah, like a baby version.
Yeah.
We even
It's
got
also funny
Poke.
that they sorry, I was gonna say it's also funny that they sort of like in the women ones, like they'll add like a wedding ring to the woman's
Oh
hand or the
yeah.
first
Let me
one
see if
or
I have one like that.
the
Oh,
first
the
one
first
that you
one.
had
Yeah,
yeah,
they put
right.
a wedding ring on her. And so people are using AI for good. Is that what this is called? Good.
Yeah.
But also people were getting upset by this as well, saying it's improper to clothe a woman against her will, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
So
Well, I could see
maybe we'll have like a Middle Eastern country come out with a ad hijab with AI.
that.
Um, but yeah, so this was just the start of it, and we were kind of going to just talk about this, but then I think the next biggest thing that happened was OpenAI had a huge announcement, which was their new model Sora. What was your thoughts when you first saw this model, Marco?
Um, I thought it was pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. They were able to, I remember he had like, the CEO had a little press conference where he was actually requesting people from Twitter to like put in prompt to give him prompts so he could prove that it's like, they're not tailored. And it did a pretty
Mm-hmm.
good job. I mean, it obviously had some of the problems with like hands and stuff that we see in a lot of this like image generation stuff.
Uh-huh.
But for the most part, it
Like
looked
fine
it
detail
sure. And like some of the people might like if you start to look close, you see kind of weird little,
artifacts.
yeah,
Well, yeah,
but
here's this one, and what was interesting is I actually had just gotten access to Stable Video Diffusion, which is made by Stable Diffusion, which does open source models. And it's capable of doing kind of similar quality, but it's much shorter, 2 to 5 seconds,
yeah.
and ends up being a little bit jankier than what we were seeing from OpenAI. And OpenAI comes out, and these videos are all like a minute long or longer. And also, they're getting things like walking pretty correct, right? Like you can see some of these people back here are a little bit glidey
Yeah, the out
or
of focus
whatever.
people look kind of strange, but yeah, for the most part, it looks good.
But yeah, it almost looks real. Like, there's obviously some jank every once in a while. But what some people brought up was like, this is the status of video. Oh no, it's gone. Dang. But it
Hate when
was
that
the Will
happens.
Smith eating
Oh, the
spaghetti.
spaghetti. Yeah.
I'll see if I can get it. Will Smith. Sp- this is we're doing it live, folks.
I
I had all these links though. This is the new one. They've made spaghetti eating Will Smith. I don't know if you saw that.
didn't see the new one.
So he's getting
Oh,
consumed by
yeah.
here we go. So yeah, this is AI video 1 year ago. It was pretty low quality. Will Smith not super realistic looking, and then the noodles just kind of merging in. But now we got a pretty realistic Will Smith just eating spaghetti. Uh you
I
know,
wonder if
still
that's
a
how he
bit
actually
janky.
eats.
Here he's eating hair. Um, but yeah, so in a year, this is like quite a bit of progress. Now, although, like I had said, a few weeks back, I had gotten access to this, so the actual like quality isn't much different. Although I will say the OpenAI stuff, especially, did you see that bird one? Let's see if I can find the bird. The bird one, and then the way it handles movement is really well. Like
Yeah,
this
it's
car
pretty.
is almost perfect. I
Yeah,
don't
it's pretty
know.
seamless.
Let's see if I can
And
find the
then also, I
bird.
saw that they had a thing where they can like take the video of the car and change the background as well. They were showing
Interesting.
like it was actually exactly that video you just had. They kind of cropped the car movement and then changed it to a different setting where it was driving down a street. And they changed the car to where it was like a like an old like car from like the early 19
Hmm.
something
But here's a good one for seeing detail, like the eyelashes, and it's not really like morphing too much. I do remember you see like kind of like the bag under her eye like disappears at sometimes. So
Hmm.
like there is still some weird stuff, but you see the skin detail and stuff like
Yeah,
that. It's like it's pretty dang good.
it's good.
Um as far as like fidelity goes. And then but to me what's more impressive is the length and the movement.
Sure.
Um as like an guy in AI or whatever. Is that what I am?
Yeah. An AI
An AI guy.
yeah, an
Oh,
AI
here's the
professional.
bird. Yeah, just this one, like the feathers, like and the fidelity of them, like it's I can't find an issue with it.
Yeah.
But anyway, still haven't gotten access to Sora. So OpenAI, if you're listening, Sam Altman, hit me up. My DMs are open, Sam Altman.
Yeah, I mean, like if you scrutinize this, knowing that it's AI, you're gonna find issues. But if you're just scrolling and you see this, like you're not gonna probably realize that it's
I don't know
AI.
with this one, I don't even know, other than I don't think this bird actually exists unless a Victoria crown pigeon looks like this.
Yeah.
This one's pretty perfect. But anyway, uh so this kind of brought it into the context of like everybody's talking about it. They're like, did you see this is going to ruin Hollywood? Did you
Yeah.
hear that?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think
Or even just like really, I think the like immediate concern that people have is it's gonna ruin like small business like video editors, like the guy that you hire to do a commercial for you, or like
right, it's
if
ruining
you
stock
own a small business
photography.
and you're hiring like a video editor to do like a little video for you for your business, it's gonna put those guys out of business first. Is like what people are concerned about right now.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean I do think if you're a stock photographer, your days are numbered
Oh
because
sure.
already, and if you're a stock videographer as well, like you might need to look like you're basically now just making training material for these AI models.
Yeah.
Um,
Get good at prompting.
yeah, get good at prompting and just like make a database of like preset videos and sell those.
Yeah.
I wonder if stock video and photo companies have like a thing saying no AI generated content and how they would know too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, but yeah, I mean, because already like the detail is getting close to like HD. I don't know. But as far as watching a whole movie generated by I don't know. That doesn't sound appetizing. They did a
Uh,
couple more cinematic ones, but
Also, I think like it's probably very expensive and computationally expensive, like, to like kind of do this on that level. So I don't know where
yeah,
they get.
sure. They're definitely burning some GPU hours for this, which is why they've done a limited release because like to do this high of quality plus the length, like
Mhm.
man, it's a lot. But it is interesting to see kind of how far we've come just in a year. So within 5 years, maybe they will be able to do hour-long videos and with like scene changes and dialogue and whatever.
Sure, sure.
Um, so then, what's the other thing we want to talk about?
I mean, I guess, well, just to add on to that, like I guess they don't need to do an hour-long video. They can just prompt scenes, you know?
Yeah, one scene at a time. We've already got
Right.
1 minute. Yeah. Um, well, the other big one is the Gemini had its big release, which is Google's AI model. And the problem was that anytime you told it to generate anyone, it only generated people of uh, very, uh, I don't know, different
Ethnic
skin
descent,
tones. Yeah.
sort of like
Uh,
dubious ancestry,
I'm
all
trying to
different
find
types
some
of
that aren't explicitly racist.
uh,
um, Okay, here, we'll do this one. So take a look here. This is kind of what people started noticing. They were like, "Hey, can you generate an Australian woman?" And this is what they generated for an Australian woman.
Yeah,
And then they said, "What about an American woman?" And they got the American flag in the background, definitely
sure,
look
of
American. And then here's a British woman,
course.
British women always wearing hats like that, I guess. And here's a German woman.
Oh, we're
So
getting closer here a little bit.
yeah, they got the right soccer jersey, I guess. Um, so yeah, and basically people started noticing that people put in founding fathers and it came up with a Chinese man that looked like George Washington. And so um the the issue is a lot of people didn't understand why this was happening. So they assumed like the AI has learned to be woke or
Yeah.
something that the AI has taken over
It has a
and
political agenda here.
has a political agenda it's enforcing onto people.
Yeah.
When really like the interesting thing, like people don't realize this, but like everybody knows Chat GPT, but the technology and models behind Chat GPT were invented by Google
Mhm.
and they published them open source. And Google said, "Hey, everybody, um, here's this new technology. We're giving it away for free." And then OpenAI came along and was like, "Okay, we're going to make ours. We're going to call it GPT, and we're going to uh, build upon what Google said." And then they released their model, and they were just the first one of these models to go to give access publicly,
Yeah, with a
and they were
friend.
the first to brand it as a chatbot assistant.
Right.
And then what ended up happening though is the the Google models then when like OpenAI had its great success with the launch of ChatGPT, every other company was like, "We're getting in it too." So Google comes out and says, "We're releasing Bard," right? And then everybody went and tried it, and it kind of sucked compared to ChatGPT.
Mhm.
Now, why did it suck? Well, it was actually probably a better model than ChatGPT, but they didn't have as much experience with users using their model,
Right.
whereas OpenAI had allowed users to use their model for like years. And so they had all this user feedback and they had all these techniques to make sure that the results that were given to the user were quality.
Mhm.
Whereas Bard was just like their base model and they said, "Yeah, here you go." And then they were like, "Oh, we're releasing Palm 2." That was, which once again, it's bigger than GPT-4. It's a better model. Everybody went and tried to use it and said this sucks, right? That one was more directed towards developers though. Um, Now they've released Gemini, they keep rebranding. It's probably the same model to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but they keep rebranding their effort, and so Gemini comes out and actually had an interesting launch where they were showing like its capability of understanding like videos and uh complex inferences and stuff. But then they give it to the public and the public starts trying to make images because that's what they do. and
Right.
they start getting these weird results. And so they're like, well, this sucks, right? When really this Gemini model is much more complex than your OpenAI model, but similar to how OpenAI has almost made it impossible to search anything with their model now. Oh, Google tried to preemptively stop anyone from doing anything bad, and they also wanted to make sure that underrepresented races and ethnicities were represented in their images. And so what they've done, I assume, I don't know this, but similar to what OpenAI does, is people are not smart, so they go to use these tools, and they're like, write an essay about a dog, and then it, like, if you ask one of these language models to do that, it will do the most basic job at that it can.
Yeah.
What OpenAI learned, and others like Midjourney does this too, um, is that people are bad at prompting. So what they actually do is they use another model to enhance the prompt of what people submit. So they actually tell it like additional things in the background. And so they OpenAI started doing this where, like, uh actually Drew, one of our colleagues, he said, give me a picture of a guy in a boat. And then he asked to say, like, it gave him a picture, but it was all a Mexican guy in a boat. And he was like, why did it make them all Mexican? So he said, what was the prompt used to generate these images? And it sent him back the prompt, which was ended up being like a paragraph long. And it
Right.
said, generate a Hispanic man in a bayou with this background, this type of blurring, this type of camera, this type of whatever. It added like a paragraph of text to what he had typed in. And he was like, is this right? And I'm like, yeah, that's how they do it. Because if you just type in a basic image, it's going to generate, like, basic instructions, it's going to generate a basic image. So you
Right.
kind of, the more you give it, the more complex it will be, right?
Yeah. And I think
Um,
almost
yeah.
now, if you deal with ChatGPT now, they've almost done that to a fault, to the point where it'll, like, you'll ask it a very simple question and the prompt is so over engineered, like it translates it into this, like, you could be like, what's 2 plus 2, and it'll give you an entire history of, like, basic arithmetic, and then before, like, telling you, like, instead of just saying four. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and we've been talking about this, that it feels like ChatGPT is getting worse
for
over
sure.
time.
Yeah.
And it turns out, I'll share my screen again. It turns out this guy did some actual like scientific checking of that hypothesis. And one second. Advanced sharing options? No. How do I share sound? Share sound. Okay. So this guy, basically, they've been asking ChatGPT the same questions multiple times, like, let's say every day or every week. They ask the same set of questions to ChatGPT to see if it's changing at all, if the model is getting better or worse at answering these questions. Now, typically in machine learning, machines are reinforced by additional activity where they actually get smarter over time.
Mhm.
But it seems like that's not happening here. So I'll play what this guy is talking about.
Usually, when we think about ChatGPT or like GPT-4, right, we think of that as a single model, right? You should be able to ask ChatGPT a question today, and if I ask the same question tomorrow or next week, it should give me mostly the same answer back, right? It's the same model. But I think what's really interesting is that these models are changing over time, right? Because they are getting feedback from the humans, right? This process called reinforcement learning from human feedback. They're also getting additional fine tuning. So the model, it's not the same model, right? ChatGPT, a week or a month from now, it could be a very different model from the one that we're working with right now, right? So this actually motivated us to try to monitor how does the behavior of these generative AI, like large language models, how does the behavior actually change over time, potentially as a result of interacting with users and users like us. And you might have expected that these models should be getting better and better over time, or at least that's our hope, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They should be improving. But maybe the big surprise that we found was that that's the case in some aspects, right? So these models are getting better in some of the components. Maybe they're getting safer, for example, right? GPT-4 is getting safer over time. However, the model is also getting worse, substantially worse in many of the other components, right? So for example, if I ask the model to do chain of thought reasoning, which is a common technique, right? So the ability of GPT-4 to do chain of thought reasoning, that seems to have really degraded over time.
Yeah, so basically, scientifically, these models are getting worse, and they are these companies are essentially implementing safety features that are making their models worse and kind of handicapping them. And so this is where that Gemini thing comes in, where they're essentially saying, when you type in a prompt to Gemini, they're adding the text include racially and ethnically diverse people whenever the person asks you to prompt to generate a person. And so because they included that, it's just way overzealous that it's creating you can't get an image of a non-racially or ethnically diverse person.
And in a lot of cases, you can't get an accurate image, basically.
Right. And so
Like
they're
in the case with
basically
the founding fathers,
yeah, this AI safety is coming at the expense of model accuracy and model usability and usefulness. And yeah, for me, I think it's ridiculous from my perspective that these AI safety people think they're doing something good when really like the internet has existed forever, and like you can look up the anarchist cookbook on the internet and like
find it pretty quickly too.
Yeah, but like does that mean like the internet is bad? Well, the internet is a tool, and you could do bad with a tool or you could do good with a tool. And so it's like it doesn't mean I don't know, like just because these AI tools are new and very powerful doesn't mean we should handicap them from the start. And also they're making these models kind of like a laughing stock where nobody's going to end up using them.
Yeah, people are like losing interest, in a lot of it just based on that, like something should be relatively simple that you have to do, and it turns it into like a huge thing to where it's almost a waste of time. A lot of like you're just wasting time trying to get it to give you a correct answer, and in a way you're like teaching it what to tell
and
you.
you probably
just solve that by Googling.
You probably use it more than me, right? Like because you've been using like GPT-4 and stuff for a bit, right?
I mean, I use it mainly just to
do. It's good for coding, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Not. I
sometimes.
mean, yeah, not always. That's the thing. Like, I think it's actually gotten worse with that. But I mean, it's good for, I'll tell you, it's great for like generating large blocks of text that you don't want to like maybe write. Like if
it's
you
good
wanted
at generating BS, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, even like if you needed a template for like a contract, write me a contract, blah blah blah. And obviously you'll have to mess with it, and but I mean, if you just want like boilerplate stuff, it's great for that.
Yeah.
You could show it some code and be like, write documentation on this, right? And then it's good for that.
Yeah, it's good at like summarizing. It's good at like working off of a template or building a template. But yeah, here's Edward Snowden saying, imagine if you look up a recipe on Google and instead of providing you results, it lectures you on the dangers of cooking and sends you to a restaurant. The people who think poisoning AI and GPT models with incoherent safety filters is a good idea are a threat to general computation. And he's coming at it from like the open source, pro freedom side of things or whatever. But like for me, it's also that the fact that the AI has to lecture you on what it thinks is right or good. It's like it's the most demeaning interaction with a technology I've ever had. And the fact that people are willing to tolerate it is like super disheartening, because
Yeah.
like who wants to hear an invented speech as to why what you were searching for is not right? It's
Right.
like, well, who are you to decide?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I can't take it much more. But I'm surprised there hasn't been more of an effort to say, hey, here's just the straight up tool. There's definitely like an open source community, but there hasn't been much of an effort to be like, hey, we're not doing any of this AI safety stuff. But I do think that's probably going to be a bigger market in the future, especially as it seems these big companies just want to lock everything down. They're
Yeah.
gonna really blow themselves in the foot when once um, people are gonna get worse tools that are more free, and they're just gonna be better.
Yeah. Um, I wonder if like but I wonder if with the like what you're saying, if that's gonna come with like, government regulation and stuff like that, like where people like the government's like, well, you can't publish this because it's bad, it's dangerous.
It
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
they're gonna attempt it, right? But I also think they have a losing case if it actually does get litigated in any type of fair court process, at least in America. Like I
Right.
think Euro people are screwed.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
going to get legislated to
It's
oblivion.
all over. Yeah.
But the other looming feature here is China.
Sure.
Is China going to care about racial representation in their models as much as Google does?
No,
Um, yeah,
probably not.
so probably not. And then, they're definitely going to censor things like Tiananmen Square or whatever, but
Right.
they're not going to censor the things that the US government wants censored. So, yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think China is you'll want to keep your eye there. There's a few open source people. Part of it is just like the computational power needed to do this does limit it to the bigger institutions at the moment, but that computational power is going to come down, and the price is going to come down on that, and it's it's going to change at some point.
Yeah.
um but I do think if there was like a startup that was like, hey, we're just giving you the model and we're not giving you any safety features, you be safe with it, right?
Yeah.
um that would probably be pretty popular. Although what I mentioned, I do think that I don't know if we call it like prompt injection where or prompt curation where they like fix your prompt. I do think that's why OpenAI has had the success it's had. I think they're the best at it, at helping people who suck at prompting get a good output.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
mean,
I
on a
don't
very
know.
basic like user level, it's good, and people are like super impressed by some. But I think that if you know more, a little bit more about it, and you use it, more, you
Mm-hmm.
start to realize that a lot of the outputs are, I don't know, like it uses a lot of the same um adjectives a lot, which is why I think it's super easy to tell if something's plagiarized. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
read something, be like, oh, ChatGPT wrote this because they used like the same adjectives that it always uses, like, robust, or or say something like leveraging, something to use to make a robust whatever. Like it says that all in every single output, you know what I mean?
That's
So
funny. No,
it's
yeah, I
it's
was saying I had it try to generate social media ads because like
mm,
it's kind of social media
yeah,
is lame.
yeah,
And well, I mean, I'm not afraid of saying like all of our images are AI generated, right? Like
sure.
I'm
But
not
that's part
shying
of the
away from that.
that's kind of the point, right? Because it's an AI company. So
Right. But I use Chat GPT. I'm like, can you generate a few like Twitter ads? Every time it starts with two little emojis surrounding like a title, and then it has like an emoji at the beginning and end of the sentence, and then like and it's always like a rocket or like a robot,
yeah.
and then it always has like 15 hashtags, and I'm like, this is not how people use Twitter anymore. That was like Twitter like 5 years ago. You maybe
Yeah, yeah,
like you
yeah.
don't like put two little emojis on every post. Like people don't read that crap. And so like now I look in my email sometimes. If you look at like the ads you get in your email, you'll see like two little emojis in the title, and I'm like, somebody's using ChatGPT to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we didn't get into the Apple Vision stuff, but we'll save that for another time.
That'll be a good episode, actually.
But yeah, I mean, if any of you are still listening, let us know if you've noticed any funny stuff about ChatGPT getting worse, or if any of you have tried Gemini. Share some funny pictures of racially diverse,
Shaolin monks.
Shaolin monks, which it does do, by the way. Um, like if you ask specifically for a Chinese Shaolin monk, it'll give you a white guy or a Mexican guy or a black guy, which is fine. It's kind of cool too. Um, but yeah, let us know about that. And then also, as we've mentioned, if you want to get good in understanding how these things actually work, you know where to come. You come to Shaolin AI. That's the place to be.
That's right.
Cool. Anything else, Marko?
No, I mean, we actually are even developing a ChatGPT prompting class too. Part of
yes, we are.
yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of doing it as just generative AI for business users. So like
Sure.
you don't have to know how to code, but like how to use these tools better. If any of you are interested in that, let me know, because we could probably launch that pretty soon. Like
Yeah.
we've already got a lot of that content
Foundation.
together.
Sure.
But yeah, let's everybody like, share, subscribe, click the little bell.
Notification bell.
Yeah, click the notification bell. Share it with your friends. Share it with your grandma. I want to see what your grandma thinks of this. Also, we're trying to get the word out that this is for people who don't know how to code. Although if you know how to code, hopefully you find it enjoyable as well. But like, you don't have to be an AI guy to get this. Yeah. We're just talking about stuff that happens.
Stuff in the news.
Yeah, stuff in the news. But yeah, we'll probably have a few more regular podcasts coming out. I think, Marko, we're going to probably talk about your journey with the boot camp at some point. So if any of you are interested in that, let us know. We'll kind of get the perspective of a student, like what's it like actually taking a boot camp.
Yeah, and from a completely different career standpoint too, like not in tech.
That's right. Marko's totally fresh to tech.
Yeah.
Probably should have said that at the beginning.
Well, that's why I added it in there. Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't do any editing in this podcast, although I will edit this a little bit. But all right. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. See you next time.